Hi! Thank you guys for checking out this video. I am Christina with Ask a Montessorian. It's an absolutely gorgeous day here in Prescott. It's been raining on and off. It was hailing at my house earlier. Overcast skies. Those of you who know me, this is my absolute favorite kind of weather. I started to begin to love snow, but not nearly as much as I enjoy rain, living in Flagstaff. Anyhow, I'm grateful to be here in Prescott with my family. I wanted to share a video today on circle time. So this video is more directed toward maybe parents who are homeschooling, focused on Montessori, or teachers who are in the Montessori classroom, or even teachers who are in a preschool classroom and they're interested in adding some different concepts to their circle time. I had the best circle time. I had so much fun with the children. The parents would come and tell me what the children talked about at home, and they were so excited. Anyhow, it was lots of fun. So one of the things that we did, and mind you, I'm AMI primary trained for 3 to 6 year olds, in case this is your first time watching. So my circle time is based on the idea that the 3 to 6 year olds are not quite abstracting yet. So it's in Montessori, they call it the absorbent mind until the age of 7, and the child is developing their personality. Therefore, it is crucial that you're careful what you expose them to prior to losing their first tooth, or around 7 years of age. You can kind of see it's like a spectrum. It's hard to, that's not the right word. It's a gray area. It's hard to tell when exactly they're abstracting, because they may abstract on some concepts and not abstract on others, and basically they'll start to use their imaginations a lot, and that's a really good indicator. There are several second plane characteristics that you can look up, Montessori second plane characteristics, and once those start to come to life in the child's environment, and you notice that they're developing those skills, then you know they're abstracting. So anyhow, my circle time. I love to do yoga. And I want to start off. Okay, I was evaluated by an AMI consultant my first year teaching. Technically it was my 4th year teaching, but I had been floating, and I'd never actually led a classroom before. So it was my first year as the lead directress. And she was not happy with my circle time. I will say, if you look at Montessori theory, circle time is not necessarily following the child. It's more ego-centric with the teacher, if that makes sense, because Montessori is about observing the children to see what it is they're passionate about, and then creating an environment where they can flourish in those passions without interruption. So you want them concentrating for as long as possible. That's why we have the uninterrupted 3-hour work cycle. So my circle time was between 15 and 25 minutes, and she wanted it to be more like none or 5. And she also wanted it to be voluntary. So I found that when you have been teaching for a while and you're excited about something, the children can feel that energy and they just come anyways. So, I ended up modifying my circle time after her evaluation when I read her suggestions. However, I still love circle time. What can I say? And in elementary too. I have not ever led my own elementary classroom, but I do have the 6 to 12 training, and I floated in many AMI certified elementary classrooms. And it's really awesome in elementary, because if the children have a strong circle time concept in primary, they can lead their own circle time in elementary. So you give the responsibility to the children. You make it one of their classroom jobs, and they absolutely love it. And So anyhow, 15 to 25 minutes. Sometimes it was a half hour, rarely a half hour, but I'll tell you some of the things I did. I'll tell you how I did it before the consultation, and then I'll tell you how I did it after the consultation. So prior to the consultation, I had just, had my primary training, and I was basing a lot of my classroom off of my mom's classroom. And my mom was AMI trained in the 70s, and she had a circle time in the mornings, and then she had a brief circle time before recess after the 3-hour work cycle. She was a very successful teacher for over 50 years. She has many graduates who are doing very well out in the community. And I did what I know. And so I have to check my notes, but I feel like there was a lecture in primary on circle time, but I don't know. I'd have to look it up. Anyhow, if you guys are AMI teachers and please feel free to comment below and let us know. But basically, what I did was I incorporated as many things as possible that I would want my child to know about, and things that I was fascinated with, and things that the children, most importantly, things that the children had asked about during the day while I was giving lessons and whatnot. And so one of the things that we enjoyed doing, I was raised in Catholic school, and we had current events, and a lot of schools do that, right? They'll have like a TV in the classroom, or the teacher will go over the current events once a week, something like that. And so what I would do is I would bring in a copy of the newspaper. Now, mind you, this was in 2009, so it was quite a few years ago. But the children knew what a newspaper was, and they enjoyed looking at it. We would do that 2 days a week. We would open it up. I would talk to them about things that I felt were appropriate. I always read it beforehand and checked for things that were really fascinating. We would talk about, we were in Phoenix, Arizona at the time, so we would talk about current construction going on. We would talk about latest movie release, G-rated, of course. We would talk about, I would give them a very brief G-rated idea of what's going on worldwide as far as current events. Nothing too graphic. I kept it very simple. We would talk about other countries, and then we would look at our world map, and some of the children would stand up and show us where the other countries were. I always did something like that with current events. We sang the days of the week, we sang the months of the year. Animaniacs, which is a cartoon that was on in the early to late 90s when I was growing up, they have a YouTube video of the 50 states. And so sometimes we would make up our own songs about what it was we were learning. So for instance, if we were learning about mammals, we would make up a song about mammals. We would make up songs about the 50 states or the capitals. We would make up songs about the presidents of the United States throughout history. We did a lot of things based on nonfiction, if that makes sense, because that's a foundation in Montessori until the age of 7 when they start to use their imaginations. Something physical, we did brain gym. We also did yoga, and we had a recital in winter and a recital in spring. And the winter recital was based on the changing of the seasons. So we sang songs about different seasons, and we sang traditional Christmas songs. We sang some Hanukkah songs, dreidel, dreidel. And we sang a song about Diwali. I always enjoy getting to know the families in my classroom, because then I can talk to them about their heritage, and we sing songs that the children would sing when they were growing up in their culture that they're familiar with, so the other children can get to know the children. And it's like a family. Your classroom really is like a family. It's so beautiful. And so the winter rehearsal. So we would sing, we usually sang in the afternoons, but sometimes as we were approaching the actual recital, we would sing during the morning circle time. And then we always sang at least one song in morning circle time. And they do that in elementary as well. You always introduce one song a week like Waltzing Matilda, because Greg McDonald was my elementary trainer. And then he's Australian, in case you didn't know. So we would sing, we would dance sometimes. I basically tried to incorporate as much educational concepts as possible on things that they were fascinated about. I will share with you, I saw a circle time that was really fascinating once. A teacher created a spider web out of string, and she had the children hold the different pieces of string, and then the spider web was created as the string was stretched across to different children, and it was based on corresponding mammals, whether or not they thought it was a mammal, whether or not they thought it was an amphibian, whether or not they thought it was a sea creature. You get the gist. But it was beautiful to see the spider web form across the children, and it was a hands-on application of such a great concept. So the children remember it more so when they actually experience something where they're, kinesthetic, is that the right word? Kinesthetically learning with their hands, like they do in Montessori with all the materials. If I brought a new material into practical life, I would introduce that in circle time and show the children that. Let's say we lost Tiny Tim. Tiny Tim is what my mom called the smallest cube to the pink tower. If we lost Tiny Tim, then we would announce it in circle time. And then at the end of the day, prior to cleaning up the classroom, we would find Tiny Tim. We would move all the cupboards and, make an effort to find Tiny Tim. More often than not, when you have 3 to 6 year olds, and I had 2.5-year-old twins, and when you have so many children working together in the classroom, more often than not, there's more than one piece missing. And so I always made a point of setting that work aside. My mom did that. We cannot use the pink tower until we all work together to find the smallest cube. Trying to think, like the tasting jars and the smelling bottles. There's so many fun exercises that I added to practical life. We would cook. Like one time we made latkes in honor of one of the Jewish holidays, and I think it was Rosh Hashanah. And I let the children learn how to use, it was a griddle, one of those portable griddles. So I showed them that it was hot, of course. I showed them how to apply the oil. I showed them, they all made the latkes. They all formed the dough and everything. And then I had them place it on the griddle, and I showed them how to flip it. Even the 2.5-year-olds can cook. You just have to prepare the environment. I had a phenomenal assistant, Mrs. Gaitan. Oh my gosh, she was so good. My assistant was always helping with the little ones, and she was always redirecting them and making sure that I could give lessons without interruption. And that's what a good assistant does. She makes sure that the children can concentrate, and you can be a lesson machine, because the more lessons you give, the easier it is to normalize your classroom. And so she was phenomenal at helping with the little ones. And yeah, we would cook. Gosh, we did a stew once in a crock pot. Some of the classrooms that I floated in cooked every day, and the children prepared their own meals, and it was always like a family meal. They would lay out the tables and they'd all sit together, and it was beautiful. And a lot of other countries do that on a daily basis, and it's incredible to watch. We have the health department here licensing, so there's only so many things that we can and cannot do in the classroom with the children. We're restricted to their guidelines. So anyhow, yoga. Oh my gosh. I love the toddlers. Oh, they're so stinking cute. So you put your nose to your toes, right? When you're doing like butterfly in yoga. I call it butterfly, but it's basically, having your feet together and your knees out, and you're sitting, not crisscross applesauce, but join your feet together, and you can flap your knees. and you go nose to your toes, and all the toddlers just fold so beautifully. They're so flexible. It's so beautiful to watch. So anyhow, we love doing yoga together. Brain gym, there's a whole curriculum on brain gym. You can look it up. It's very simple. It's right and left brain coordination. We always walk on the line in Montessori, and the children, I encouraged walking on the line during the 3-hour work cycle too, because it helps the child begin to concentrate. It helps them find that connection between their body and their mind so that they can calm themselves down. And I'll do a video on walking on the line because there are several different levels of difficulty to the lesson. So anyhow, we also did a moment of silence. We practiced mindfulness, and in the beginning of the year, the children will sit silent for about 30 seconds, you know, especially some of the 2-year-olds, and then you go to 1 minute, 2 minutes. By the end of the year, they can sit silently for 10 minutes, and it's very beautiful to watch. I noticed, I don't know about AMI because we didn't talk about it in my training, but in AMS they have a peace corner. So I had a little corner for reading, and then the children can go and meditate there too and practice mindfulness and take their own moment of silence. Usually when you need to redirect them, if they have disruptive behavior, all it is why don't you go and collect yourself in the peace corner, or you know, it doesn't need to be a timeout, it doesn't need to be a punishment, it just needs to be, what do you need to be successful right now? What do you need to, how can I help you? You know? Anyhow, I am running out of battery life, so I hope you guys found this video helpful. Please feel free to ask a Montessorian, and if you like this video, click like and subscribe. Greg always tells me that. He had a YouTube channel, my 11-year-old, long before I did. So anyhow, feel free to check out my other videos. I try to categorize them by age, by primary, elementary, whether they're for Montessori teachers, whether they're for parents. Yeah, and there's a video that I do with my mom, and please stay tuned because I'm going to do a video. I created one, but I need to edit it. I'm going to do a video on co-parenting because I have lots of friends who are separated from the other parent for one reason or another, and they need help co-parenting.